we're meeting to talk a little bit about something that's really fun, Lego, and working with Lego, and innovation, change, and collaboration between a lot of people, sharing ideas and solving maybe unsolvable problems for some. So really nice to have you here, Kristiansen.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And of course, I would like to learn more about your company, Trivium, as well. You work as a Lego Series Play coach or trainer, facilitator.
Yes, to all of it.
Yeah. So
Play coach,
is that all you do? I know you travel around the world to do this all the time.
So personally, that's all I do, and I do travel all over more or less all over the world, and it's sort of picking up again here after Corona. But if we take maybe Trivium first, so because I have another longer story with Series Play, and we might come back to that. But Trivium is Danish based. We have a couple of international offices as well, but we started here in Denmark, and we go all the way back to when Lego Series Play began. So when I was inside Lego still, my colleagues founded Trivium, and with this idea of, they were also experienced leaders from industry and wanted to move into, it's called consulting, but more facilitating and coaching. And they got into the Lego Series Play right from the beginning when it was still a project. That's how I got to meet them. When Series Play was still a project, they were some of the first ones to try it out outside Lego. And the whole idea was that, because there's always been this belief with Lego Series Play and inside Trivium that people have the potential to do well at work, but they also have the desire to do well at work. So our little sort of more or less internal tagline has always been to unlock and coordinate human potential to make a difference. That's sort of what we've been telling ourselves. That's what we don't actually share it very much, so you can't find it on the website, I think. But we always talk about unlocking and coordinating.
Very similar to Dandy People's purpose, which is up here. We believe that all people are awesome in the right environment and generally want to do good. Our purpose is to inspire to build human-centric organizations and unleash brain power.
Okay, fantastic. There you go. So that could have been Trivium, or it could have been Series Play as an idea 20 years ago. So there you go. Fantastic. Cool.
So,
yeah. I'm just thinking really to use this to segue to Series Play for a second.
Yeah.
Because it started with this idea that the owner of Lego had, and he still has it, I'm going to say in the past, because this is more than 20 years ago, where he kind of, in his words, said almost what you just read from your own purpose there. This idea that he had all these awesome people, all these amazing people in his company, and still he felt that, let's say, the way they were doing strategy at different levels didn't unlock, let's call it, this awesomeness or this potential or this brain power. So he really felt that they weren't doing that the way they were doing strategy. And that's, and he came into some conversations with two professors at a business school here in Europe, and from a more academic perspective, they were researching the same thing, basically, a different way of doing strategy, a way of an understanding of leadership, and Kjeld, the owner of Lego, and these two guys, they kind of came together in this idea, like, say, let's try and develop a strategy process that mirrors their research and Kjeld's belief system, and so they started that, and then came up with this sort of, wow, why don't we just put in the Lego brick? Because, as one of the professors said to Kjeld, so if you really believe that the Lego brick can do this for children, unleash their imagination and sort of this engagement and this commitment, and if you can do that for children, why wouldn't it be the exact same thing for adults? And
smart.
Yeah, and
really smart thinking.
and such a simple thing, right? In a way, but it just sometimes takes that outsider to put that obvious question. So we tend to say, for Keld, at that moment, it's like, oh, the angels were singing, and you could see the forest for the trees, and so they put in the Lego brick into this early strategy process, and frankly, it didn't work. That's not quite true. It worked in the sense that in the beginning, we're like, wow, lots of energy, and then it faded during the workshop, and it didn't, in lack of a better word, it didn't quite click in that sense. So they involved my later colleague Robert Rasmussen in it as well. And Robert came from the learning and development, the educational division, and he brought sort of a lot of learning and development theory to this. And then they found a way to make this, more than just the Lego brick, because the Lego brick isn't magic, but used right, it can be the means to create magic. But in itself, it's just a brick, right? And then, around 2001, I guess, it really started to work, and
so that was in 2001.
Yeah, that was about 2001. Yeah. And that's when maybe 2000, but thereabouts. And they said, how it just, it seems to work. So let's actually kind of bring it out to people that are not Lego people, and check if this is a particular thing for people that works inside Lego. And then obviously it wasn't. So, and so Kjeld, again, the owner, said, this seems to work. It works for my company, so it's good for business. It works for my people, so it's good for the people. So let's bring it out to the world. And in that sense, you can say that little company that I then became part of, we moved from being, let's call it a research vehicle, to be more a commercial vehicle. And Kjeld also set up a research foundation that continued researching in why it worked, because now we could see that it worked. So these guys and the other, exactly why. It's like, now we have the pill, right? So then they started to give the people this, the pill, and then start looking at them and collecting data and saying, so why is it that this works? And I started to find all this commitment stuff, and
So that's it started to solve a real problem for Lego itself.
Yeah.
To operationalize maybe strategy, or was it to?
It was also to develop strategy, right?
To develop strategy.
Yeah, and that's how it was born. And then it is always, think of it like it was born to develop strategy, but it was born to develop a particular kind of strategy. So like what an academic would call emergent strategies. So it's born to create this notion of making strategic decisions in volatile or unpredictable environments. And that's what it was in the beginning. The first couple of years, we thought that was serious play. But then we realized that that workshop wasn't serious play. It was a workshop with serious play, but the serious play was actually let's call it a language or a method that could be used for other things as well. But it took us a couple of years to fully understand that it was actually a method with a much broader application. So then we started, move from strategy also into some team development, and then from there we started to figure out let's call it the method components. So what are really, let's take a language metaphor. So then we started to realize the grammar and the syntax of the language. So instead of teaching people, one book, so to speak, we started to figure out how we could help them learn the language, so they could use the language to solve any kind of problem. If that works as a metaphor.
So and now you're running these as week-long facilitator trainings, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For people who want to come and learn to become a facilitator themselves.
Yeah. So if we just bring the history with us in the sense that in the early days, it was all the trainings were done inside Lego or in the startup company, and delivered by Robert that I mentioned before, and myself. So we ran them in there, and there were 5 days training in the beginning, a full 5 days, where people had to come to either Billund or a location outside Boston to get the training. And then Lego decided at one point, Robert and I had both been tempted to do, move outside Lego, and Lego decided that it was time for them to let go a little bit of this. They're still selling the boxes, but they didn't have any trainers, so they opened up for it. And Robert and I then used that opportunity to redesign the training that we would deliver. So we managed to cut it down to 4 days. But this was where we had really understood what the method is. So we said, we can actually do this in 4 days. So we went from 5 to 4 days, relatively intense days where people really learn the theory behind it and the method components. And they learn a couple of the pre-designed workshops, but they also learn them as a way of learning how to customize their own. We did that, and I do that now. Yeah.
So you get the facilitator training, and then kind of a toolbox, so you can also tweak it based on the needs you have when you run it.
Yeah. So one of the things we really learned over these many years is that, and it sounds so obvious when you say it, right? But no client is the same, right?
No.
I know it's
and they would agree. They would agree, I'm sure.
Yeah, but sometimes you need to learn the obvious yourself. So it's like all clients are different. Either they're different because their challenge is a little bit different, or their culture is a little bit different, or so and so, the history of the blah. So we became better and better at saying that what happens at the training is really learning that language so that everybody can go out and customize the workshop. One of the things, we also, now we say it takes 4 days, but a part of the training or after the training, there's also this standing offer of a little bit of coaching for people to get started again, because you leave after the 4 days exhausted, but also kind of like so ready. And then when you meet your client, there's still the final step of putting the play to work. So, so part of the training is actually these coaching sessions where people can get coaching and input to their first designs as well, because the clearest pattern we see is that after the 4 days, when people go out and use it shortly after, that's when their confidence has really built, and they see the difference that they make to their client, whether it's in-house. We have lots of people from big companies that get trained themselves, or it's people like you and me who run our own companies. But once you see the difference that it makes to your client, you feel much more confident. So your next sale, whether it's internal or to an outsider, is much easier because you've seen the difference that it makes. So we have these added support after the training as well.
Well, that's good. That's always good when you get started to maybe hold someone's hand a little bit, to bounce off a couple of questions. Should I do like this or like this? Or
exactly. And like you said it, Mia, a little bit, because nobody wants, or we certainly don't want to. We certainly don't want to be in this position where we are needed after the training. No. Seligman and learned helplessness.
No.
It's not that, right? It's more about saying, of course, first time you do something, you need maybe that little test or check, or you just need to know, hey, did I miss something here? And that's what that hour typically is used for. I mean, actually, it's actually 2 sessions, but that's what they typically are used for, right? And typically, there's nothing. I mean, other than a good conversation, because they got it, right? But
they usually do.
Like confidence when you go into the first workshop, and then after that first workshop, you're more confident to sell the next one.
Yeah, well, that's good. But what type of business problems would you say that maybe most commonly are solved by doing Lego Serious Play?
It really is very different. And this is the funny thing. When I look, I mean, so I have, as a trainer, I have my own clients as well, because that's sort of one of our principles, is that a trainer needs to have their own end clients, so that it's just different, right? You need to have client experiences, otherwise it becomes like academic or theoretical. So I know my profile, which is sort of a lot of the missions and visions and future scenarios and these kind of things. But when I look at the people I've trained and when I look at the presentations at the community meetings, where facilitators meet and they share and they connect across borders, is really, really vastly different. So if I try, let me give it a shot. There is like a group of people that work in, let's call it personal development. So they work, they're really working with stress actually. They work with talent development. They work with recruitment. They're even people doing outplacement with it. So they really have this more like almost like one-to-one, right? And then you have these people that are really work more on a team level. So they make teams better. They make leadership teams better. They make project teams better. So they're more on that team thing, unlocking potential in people, but in terms of in teams. And then you can say maybe there are this other group that works a lot with, in the lack of a better word, business issues. So this could be innovation, whether it's process innovations or product innovations. This is where I would put myself with most, not all of my work, but most of my work when you do missions and visions, strategies
because you work a lot with scenarios, right?
Future scenarios, yeah. And so and here we have two let's call it types. So we partly have this sort of future scenario thinking, which is very where we collaborate with Adam Kahane and the people from Rios. So that's sort of the shell. So, they have like a school of scenario thinking where we're over there. Which is one way of thinking of scenarios, but we also have what sometimes is called scenarios, but which is more about, in our terminology, playing out unforeseen events. So where you use the series play to build, you diagnose your current state as a company or as a department or even as a project. We have a lot of projects that do this as well, and you sometimes you also build your desired future state. And then you build that whole external world. It could be your stakeholders.
That you can't control at all.
You can't control at all, exactly. No, absolutely. But building them literally in Lego bricks and getting the shared understanding of them and placing them in this landscape in terms of some sort of criteria that's developed, impact or understanding, and then playing out events in this landscape helps the group to get a deeper understanding of the system they're part of. So we do a lot of that as well, a lot of that.
So a lot of system thinking.
Yeah, it's deeply anchored in systems thinking, sort of complex adaptive systems thinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely, very much. That's also again where the two academics they came from originally. So it's deeply into that. So people that are a little bit like cognitive edge. If people like Snowden and those characters, they would be into some of the stuff that we do there.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we as agile coaches, what we do when we work with change in organizations, it's all about that. And it's usually really tricky for people to understand how things connect in an adaptive system that changes. You don't know what's going to happen when we do this over there. So you need to have scenarios thinking. You need to have ways to try and test and learn. So I think in this safe environment with Lego, it's a wonderful way of learning.
Totally, sorry, interrupt you there. No, I just carried away. No, and you're true. And it's a safe environment, and it's the Lego brick, as you mentioned, or the Lego, right? So this element of using boundary objects and talking through elements, it's also the play, because play has a way of creating let's call it boundaries. So it creates this space in which you feel safe. So it does fantastic things with that, which can be really powerful. And we do also sometimes, instead of playing events, we actually play decisions. We actually also sometimes play decisions.
Decisions, okay.
So what if we did this? What if we did that? What if, and then we play out. So what if we lowered our prices, or what if we cut our ties to this partner, and then we play that happen. Sometimes and these things we also train, of course, in the training. We also play the past, which is also great. Used a lot when projects close down.
For retrospectives, then to learn about what happened and why it happened.
What happened?
Retrospective, yeah.
So you play actually things that have happened, and you look at what's the impact on the system, sorry, and you explore what did you then do when that happened, and you explore why they did it. So sometimes people do things with super good intentions. It didn't work out.
Most of the times.
Exactly, yeah. I totally agree with you. But this is sometimes it doesn't work, or or it's misunderstood. And then you have this distance between this person who she really feels she did the right thing, and this person over here really were like, why the beep did you do that? And they never, that distance between them is never crossed. But when you play it out and you get to hear this, you're like, it was a really stupid thing you did, but at least now I get it. You did it with a good intention.
Yeah, that's good.
And
that's really good. Right? Yeah. It's solving a lot of conflicts.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
Or before somehow, they become.
Because that's the thing. I don't actually think it solves the conflicts. It takes the conflict out. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, so there wasn't a conflict at all, actually. I think it's more that than solving it.
That's great. Yeah. But so when you've taken the training, do you also get then certified, or how does it work? I know you have like you said, you had where you get together all the facilitators and experiences. Yeah. How does that work? Is it a community?
Yeah, communities, I'm gonna say, actually.
Yeah, okay.
So you get you get the diploma, right? So you get a piece of paper, right? There you go. But then part of your training is also a lifelong membership of the global community. So there's this community side that the trainers are running, the Association of Master Trainers, which is sort of the not-for-profit umbrella that this is under. So there's that website or platform where you get a membership and you get your email, and then you can register and you get your unique name and password. And so on that website, there's a bunch of resources, right? So this is more sort of a download element, so to speak, because you can find resources, some materials, videos, there are some case stories. And so there's that. It's almost like a repository. So that's there. Then then there's the community, which is more like an organism, you can say, right? So we have the community meetings where we have a global one, which is in Denmark, because we all know that that's the center of the world.
Center of the world, exactly.
Absolutely. No, but this is, Lego is here, right? And there is a feeling. So we do it in that little town where they're based, and it just gives a nice feeling. And it's pretty global. I mean, Corona was a bit of a tricky one, but it is typically a good number of Asians, a good number of Europeans, and Americans from north to south as well. So it's almost a third and a third and a third from those three continents. Frankly, sub-Saharan Africa is still a little bit of a challenge for us, but the Americas and Europe and Asia are there. Then in addition, so we have the three, we call them regional community meetings, because there can only be 200 or 180 in Billund, right? So we have three regional meetings in North America, South and Latin America, and Asia. So lots of people come to those as well. Okay. So, and we also have like Asians coming to the North American and Europeans going to the Asians. It's not that you have to be from that region. It's just that it happens in that region.
Yeah. Okay.
Then there are, because a lot of things going on, we have what's called the coffee chats. These are actually run by a group of facilitators, but the trainers sort of help with the infrastructure behind it. Coffee chats are, as a minimum, monthly events, Zoom, so they're remote, where people get together, and there's typically some sort of presenter who shares something. And there's of course Lego bricks as well, right?
Yeah. Okay, good.
But then, sometimes they share their expertise. they share a type of roadmap, workshop design that's been successful, or there's been some people that know a lot about science elements.
Mm.
So one reason was about the neurobiology behind Lego Serious Play. Sometimes they're defined a little bit by area you work in. Before, I mean, I spoke about individuals and teams and organizations, but people also use it in education. So they have, sometimes that's the topic.
Mm-hmm.
We see an interestingly right now group of people that are using it with what you would call neurodiversity.
Mm.
So with children that are especially gifted in one way or another. So working with neurodiversity and serious play. So it's lots of really cool stuff going on, right?
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Also
so nice,
for those who doesn't work with it, also to understand and learn more about
exactly. And there's some
the science
really
and how
interesting things going on. And
Mm.
also another thing that we do at the community meeting is that we actually have we donate some material pro bono. So people bring this out into it's called areas where they wouldn't normally go. So there's been some really interesting projects in Brazil this year, in Africa, with let's call it less fortunate children in Thailand. Places where they don't have the economy. So the trainers, we donate some Lego Serious Play material, and a local facilitator donate their time, and all of this happens at the community meetings, and then every year they report back what they did with the children, or with
nice.
or sometimes it's also adults, right? But what they did with this
Yeah.
particular group that they work with. So,
it's really nice to hear. It's such a lively community there.
it is. I mean, it really is. It's lovely. There's really a lot of really good energy, and we kept the community meeting alive during Corona. Then we did a hybrid, but we did every year have in-person meetings. I mean, the worst, 2020 was a terrible year, right? But we did have like 30 people in person, and then we did. So, and there were not only Danes. I mean, there were a few people that could actually travel. We even had Japanese, I think, coming in 21, who took the quarantine to do it. So no, it's really beautiful. I think we all love the community meetings.
It's
very
nice.
long breaks because everybody knows everything happens in the breaks.
That's when you talk.
Exactly. So we have sharing is always, so we have some sharing going on, and then long breaks, sharing, long breaks again. But it's nice.
It's good.
And lots of people have known each other for many years, right? So that's good.
And soon you're coming to Stockholm to run the training with us. Yes. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been waiting really since before Corona, so it's a couple of years, hoping to be able to go. And then I asked you if you would like to come here, so I'm really, really happy for it.
Right, and I'm looking very much forward to it.
Yeah,
it's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Lots of Lego stuff and lots of nice people, and working on solving, like I said, maybe unsolvable problems, which are not at all unsolvable. Okay,
so those
really good. Problems. So looking forward to that, and I hope people who are watching also gets interested. Maybe they can reach out to you or to us if they want to learn more.
Absolutely.
Good.
That would be great. But no, just on that, if you have 2 minutes, Mia, because I think the thing sometimes with serious play is that once you've done it, it's always easy to understand. But when a conversation like this, for most people, raises actually, it's like sometimes it raises more questions than it gives answers, because there is something weird about this concept of bringing Lego bricks into the office. And I remember Kel, when he decided, the owner of Lego, when he decided to name it those years ago, he actually went for this idea of serious play, because he liked this what seemed to be a paradox, because most people think play is not serious. So how could something be
it's
serious?
Very
play?
Serious.
No, it absolutely is. But I remember 20 years ago. Imagine how hard it was then. And Kel was like, let's call it serious play, because it really puts this what seemed to be a paradox. It puts it right smack in the middle, right? No, fair point, right? Let's name it, because it can seem paradoxical.
It's a great name. I love it, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you. Likewise.
So see you soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye.